Hey, welcome to a Monday morning edition of Health Monday with our friends from Marble City Pharmacy, Jared and Jacob. Gentlemen, good morning to you, and Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas.
Good
Almost
morning.
Here.
I noticed you didn't bring me a present. What's the problem here?
Being shipped from China.
Yeah,
I knew that.
we got a tracking number.
Yeah. Now, he hadn't been on. Jacob hadn't been on in a while. He got that little curt to him this morning, you know.
Yeah, I have missed the last few, and I can tell my knowledge has decreased. I can tell.
The show's gotten a lot better since he was gone.
The ratings have just, anyway. This morning we're going to talk about the diabetes drug that people it's a rage. Really, people are talking about this, and I've got friends who have lost a lot of weight, and my doctor said, you're not a diabetic, you can't do this. And so that just busted my bubble right there. So what is this about, Jared?
Well, let's start with the medications we're talking about, so maybe we're all on the same page. There's a family of medicines, and this part's not important. There's a family of medicine called glucagon-like peptide, or GLP-1s.
You got that?
You can use that at your Christmas party to impress everybody if you want to. But these are the names that you'll recognize probably: Ozempic, Trulicity, Mounjaro, Victoza. Those are injectable medications that are approved by the FDA for diabetes. Then we have a couple of more, actually 3 more, that are approved by the FDA for weight loss. That would be Wegovy, a brand new one called Zepbound, if I'm pronouncing that right, and one that's been around a little bit longer called Saxenda. And so those medications all work the same way, but they've been approved by the FDA for different indications. Those are the drugs that we're talking about this morning. We're talking about them because they're so popular. We're talking about them because people are going to their doctor asking, or maybe demanding them, might be a better way to say it. And it seems like every other phone call we get every single day is about one of these medications.
So, Jacob, there's 2 different medications here, right?
In terms of, let me clarify. It's a great question. Yeah, 2 different indications. In a lot of instances, the drugs he just named in the 2 different groups, the ones approved for diabetes, the ones approved for weight loss, it's the same drug in the same injectable device. Slightly different, like when you turn to the dose, it's a slightly different dose on some of them, but that's the same drug. No, it's only one class of drugs we're talking about, but they have 2 different brand names because they're different doses. This one will be X number of milligrams, this one will be Y number of milligrams per dose. But they do the same thing. They're the same drug in the pen.
So how does this work?
Okay, so try to keep this simple for us as well as you. These drugs stimulate your pancreas to produce more insulin after you eat, right? Which is what our pancreases do when we're not taking these drugs, if our pancreases are functioning normally, right? We eat, they produce insulin, brings our level of blood sugar down. They also decrease a hormone called glucagon. You guys may have heard of glucagon. If you're diabetic, you may have glucagon shots sitting around just in case your blood sugar gets too low. So glucagon brings your blood sugar up. These medications suppress the release of glucagon. And then, and this is one of the things that maybe separates them from some other medications, they decrease gastric emptying, and all that is a fancy way of saying the food that you eat stays in your stomach longer than it normally would. When the food stays in your stomach longer than it normally would, you get fuller faster after you eat, and you stay fuller for longer. All that said to say this, you're going to eat less.
So, Jacob, let me make sure I'm with y'all on this.
I can tell you're not. That's okay.
Well, because I had heard of the diabetic injection,
Right.
but I did not know that there was a weight loss side to this that is the same drug, but you go about it a different way.
Well, I guess 2 things to say to that. One is, let's be honest, most people want their sugar levels to be okay, and that's about as far as their heart goes with that. Mm-hmm. But everybody wants to lose weight.
That's right.
And so when these came out and that was a thing, hey, this is going to lower your blood sugar. Oh, and by the way, you'll lose some weight, which is how they were originally styled. it quickly became everybody on the internet, lose weight, lose weight, lose weight. Celebrities taking it.
Yep.
There were, movie stars that are already skinny taking it so they can stay skinny. It became a huge thing. So that's one factor. The other factor is it's a shell game. Everything that we ever talk about on this show or any other, when we're talking about insurance and money, it's a shell game. And so, wait a minute, they won't cover this for me if I'm not diabetic, but I really want it, and I want my insurance to cover it to me too. So the manufacturer says, well, let me just make a different drug, and it's a weight loss drug. And so if you have a documentable obesity on your weight, then you're approved for this when you wouldn't have been approved for that. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
But it's a shell game with insurers and the government.
Jared, I've seen friends that have taken this medication and it's been effective for them. Is it pretty effective?
There's just no way around this. We're going to talk about the side effects and the risk in just a second. But we do have to start with, are the medicines effective? And the answer is there's no doubt. So if you are talking about, first of all, lowering blood sugar, the diabetes aspect of this, our patients are seeing lower A1Cs. If you remember, the A1C is just the number that kind of tracks your blood sugar over 3 months. It's a good indicator of how well you're controlling your diabetes. So yes, our patients are getting lower A1Cs and they're losing weight. You can't deny this. You look around at your friends who are taking this, they're most definitely losing weight. So the question, are they effective for diabetes? Are they effective for weight loss? No doubt.
Yes.
And you don't have staying with that, just say, you don't have to go back to the doctor every time to get an injection either.
You don't. Yeah, I guess we didn't say this, but these medicines are injections, but they're injections you give yourself. Most of them are once weekly. One of them, Victoza, is once a day. There is a tablet, I didn't even mention this, there is a tablet, Ribelsis, that you take by mouth once a day. That's the only one that's not an injectable form.
I guess every medication I've ever heard of has had some type of side effects. I guess it's probably the same thing, Jacob.
Definitely. The three that are, well, let's just be honest, you're going to get these side effects, to some extent on these drugs. Number one is nausea. It's real. I got a buddy that takes this. He says whenever he starts a new dose, he doesn't eat for 2 days because he can't think about it.
Really?
He said, I can't even think about eating for 2 days because it's just so nauseating.
Wow.
But when that kind of fades in between doses, what's very common is vomiting and diarrhea. Very common. This when your stomach's not emptying as fast, guess what? It got one other direction it can go. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, extremely common on these three drugs. But you know what? None of those three are going to kill you. Okay. They're uncomfortable. They're inconvenient. People don't like them. But nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and obviously people are managing to get past that because everybody wants it, right? Those are the three common. There is some other things to talk about that matter. We hadn't seen this in humans yet because they haven't been out long enough, but in rats, they give you thyroid tumors. Not extremely, not every rat, but enough to matter. We'll get thyroid cancer. And so if you have a family history of thyroid cancer, your doctor can't give you this medicine because we don't know what it's going to do to you yet. And
it's kind of scary.
Oh, is it? Yeah. I want to focus in on the first part of that last sentence of mine. We don't know yet. Mm-hmm. These drugs cause you to lose weight. You're not just losing fat. You're losing muscle mass too. Mm-hmm. You're losing bone density. You're losing bone health and bone strength. So we got all these studies that over a 2-year span, their sugar came down to here and this much weight was lost and everything was great. Okay, well, what's going to happen 10 years later when I have less muscle mass and less bone density, and I've been working on that? I don't know. Am I going to have are all these things going to be offset by the fact that I've been healthier in terms of weight for 10 years? I don't know. Jared doesn't know. Your doctor doesn't know. The drug company, I got news for you. The drug company doesn't know. I don't know. I don't always want to be on the bleeding edge of
That's
science.
That's a scary thought now.
You think? And these drugs are so popular we can't keep them in stock. Wow. And the manufacturer can't make enough because everybody wants them. You know what? Because you lose weight.
So does, Jared, does insurance cover this stuff? That's a deep sigh there.
Let me tell you something.
Well, let's start with this. These drugs, the injectable forms of these, and this is give or take $50, but they're $1,000 a month. So
a month.
Without insurance coverage, you're looking at $1,000 to $1,100 cash price for most of these. Actually, some of them are in the $1,200 to $1,300 range now that I'm thinking about that, without getting into the weeds. But let's just say $1,000 to $1,300 a month.
That chicken tasting better and better.
I mean, that's a lot of bread, as the young kids would say. They're very expensive medications. Let's talk about commercial insurance first. You're working, you have a job. I mean, non-Medicare plans. When I say commercial, non-Medicare plans. None of them cover these drugs right off the bat, right? They're going to require a special authorization, sometimes called a PA or prior authorization. Your doctor will have to submit info. Usually they'll have to say something along the lines of, my patient's tried this, 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 and this, and they can't get their blood sugar down, so we need to go to this expensive medication, right? For weight loss, I don't know how they're getting them approved for weight loss. Honestly, most of them just aren't getting approved for weight loss. So we do have people paying these astronomical numbers, as you might imagine. Can you put a price on weight loss? The answer is you probably
Apparently
can
so.
put a
It's
price
$1,200
on weight loss
a
because it's $1,000 to $1,300 a month. And there are some people who are willing to pay that. It's up to you guys. So for commercial insurance, there are coupons that are put out by the manufacturers, and sometimes they'll take even up to $500 off the cost of the medication. But even still, if your insurance doesn't cover it, you're still looking at least $500 a month for these medications. So there's commercial. Jake can talk about Medicare in just a second, but I do want to say this. There's one more thing, and I think that I want to handle this in a tactful way, but it's also
That's new for us.
It's also, we've all seen this, so there's no reason for us to talk around it. We see patients with, we'll just call it facial aging when they take these drugs. If you have friends who have taken these medications, before too many months are gone by, they simply look different. They just look different. And so there is the weight loss. And
Is that in a bad way they look different, or?
Well, I'm going to leave that up for everybody to interpret for themselves. Okay. But people's faces look different when they take this medication. And you need to look around at your friends when you're thinking about whether you want to do this. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
So what about the Medicare part of this?
Nothing that our federal government does is uncomplicated. So, you've heard us talk, probably even, I think it was last month on here when Jared was multiple times about how Medicare works and your coverage gap and the donut hole and all these things, right? Well, so for 2024, about to start, your coverage gap begins when your total spend, and between you and the insurance, is roughly $5,000. It's just a smidge over $5,000. Well, these are, let's call it $1,000 a month. So what that means is in month one, when you're paying your deductible, you're going to pay, nearly $600. Actually, your deductible plus your cover, you're going to pay $600+ in month one, even if it's covered. And then by the time we get to May, 5 months in, even if you take no other drugs at all, by the time you get to May, you're in your coverage gaps. You're paying 25% or $250+ every month for the rest of the year if you're on Medicare and get approved for one of these drugs. So just because you get approved doesn't mean it doesn't become extremely expensive. So, let's call it $600 the first month, whatever your $50 copay or whatever it is for the next few months, and then at least $250 the rest of the year every month. It adds up quick.
Wow.
It adds up real quick.
There's a lot of people, though,
it's a
guys,
lot.
that's taking this medication. I mean, a lot of people I talk to say, it's just made a life change for me.
A lot of people taking it is an understatement.
Yes.
I think that Jake said this, but in the last year, we've gone through times where Mounjaro was not available, Ozempic not available, Trulicity not available, and we're still going like this on those drugs. It may be that this week, I hadn't looked at the computer yet, but Ozempic was having some trouble in certain strengths even last week.
So was Trulicity.
And Trulicity as well. That's because the manufacturers have not been able to keep up with the demand. That's how popular these drugs have become. I'm not on TikTok, and probably nobody watching this this program is on TikTok, but that's the video platform that's kind of similar to YouTube or short YouTube videos, right? And so that's all they're talking about on there. So patients are taking that to their doctor, you've got to give me this medication. And it's just, like I said, There's 10 to 20 phone calls a day.
All right, Jake, who's taking this? Locally, who's taking this?
Yes.
Oh.
It is, our senior citizens, our young people, our extreme diabetics, our people who think they might almost want to be.
Yeah.
It is people who are, we'll use a medical term, people who are extremely obese to people who you go, you think you need to lose weight? Because you don't. In that full spectrum. It's old, it's young. It's male, it's female. It's educated, it's uneducated. It's white, it's black. It's everybody. It has become so inundated and pervasive in society and social media and people's awareness of it. Maybe not aware of all the side effects and the costs, but aware of the medicines, and I look skinnier and my sugar goes down. And so it's very, very prevalent.
Yeah, I think this is so important because you guys are sharing some things this morning that we haven't heard.
Sure.
And a synopsis of this conversation this morning is, I want to go back over this just briefly of who's taking this, what's the purpose of it, and what the side effects should possibly be, very quickly.
Yeah, so diabetes, weight loss, the medicines are effective.
They work.
You are going to get nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. You're not going to get around that. That may subside over a while, but it's going to happen. Like Jake said, even people who've been taking it for a while. The medicine does cause thyroid tumors in rats. They hadn't been able to get their brains around that, so if you have a family history of thyroid cancer, you can't get these medications. To me, that's scary. There's healthy and unhealthy weight loss. In addition to losing fat, you're going to lose muscle. Because of all that, you're going to lose bone density. The long-term effects of decreased bone density are not good. There is the facial aging component. Quite simply, you're going to look different. So I'm just going to give this message to you ladies right here, okay? I'm just going to tell you.
Here come the phone calls.
No. You're beautiful like you are. You don't need these medications to make you into something that you think is going to make everything better. All right? You're beautiful like you are. Believe it.
Jake?
I'll say amen to that, and I'll say this. Let's say you really need something like this, because people do. There's no magic out there. This is not magic. This is not magic at all. There's
no magic without risk.
You can't buy the magic beans because they don't exist. So you're going to lose weight? Yeah. You're sure going to be better? Yeah. Do I know what's going to happen to you in 10 years? Absolutely stinking not. Buyer beware.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about something that we do know a lot about this morning. It's Christmas. And boy, we're jam-packed at the store right now with Christmas gift ideas.
Look, you can't even see the front door because there's so many people shopping for gifts right now. But I tell you what, Teresa's done a great job.
Outstanding.
There's gifts for every single person on your list. The store looks great. I mean, stuff's flying off the shelves, so there may be some empty spots there. But she's got tons of stuff for you for everybody on your list. So come check it out. And you don't have that much time, especially you guys who like to procrastinate. You need to get on in there.
Yes.
What's hot? Do you know what's hot in the gift section? I guess Alabama and Auburn stuff's hot always.
Okay, I would love to give you just a great answer. I know, actually, I do know one. I know one. The jewelry line we sell, Kendra Scott.
Okay.
What happens is you'll see a lady come in, spend about an hour over there in that section, and then she'll leave. And then about 6 hours later, some really confused looking guy comes in and walks over there and asks for our employees to show them what my wife was looking at that she sent me in here for, because they don't know.
That's right.
And then he walks out with a bunch of little yellow bags. And so I know that's
The
flying
yellow
off the
box.
shelf.
The yellow box. That's what you want, guys.
There you go. That is the way out, the yellow box. Thank you guys for being with us this morning. And if they need more information on this medication, they can contact you guys, right?
Of course.
Okay, all right. Thanks to Jared and Jacob for being with us this morning on Health Monday. We thank you for joining us on a jam-packed edition of Daybreak Live.